This is Bill Jones with recapturefederalism.com. Today's topic of this podcast is a question. Control of the population with internment and resettlement operations? Question mark. We're going to be starting the discussion today, or the podcast today, talking about human population control movement. I've been watching Wikipedia. I like Wikipedia. You get a lot of good information. You also can get some bum information. It changes because it's a system where anybody can edit it. It's interesting. It would be interesting to know who's editing what, when, and how, and why, and who they are. Used to be human population control movement, and you'll see here it says redirected from population control movement. They don't have that as a main category anymore. They talk about it in Wikipedia, and they've also changed. Somebody has changed the different methods. The human population control, historically, going back to the 60s, was a movement. It still is a movement. It seems like they've dropped the name off because when I see movement, I automatically, because the majority of the time it's related to world communism. And I think they want to distance themselves, whoever it is, from communism and the human population control movement. In the 60s, it was a big thing. And this is where, if you look through the methods, you'll see birth control and conception, abstinence, infant mortality, abortion. They have said in the past medical abortion. Now it's just abortion. So there's a difference there. There's a difference between medical abortion and abortion, the timing and things in relationship to that. They also have infanticide. They've added on status of women, whatever that means. And I don't know why that is even included in there. That seems to be something else, or it should be a subcategory of one of these others. They have war. Yes, war is a population control device. Immigration, that's the outward bound of some people. Then we get the immigration reduction. Used to be it was just immigration. Now they've come in with reduction. Why is that? And who did that? Immigration. And right away, a thought of mine comes now to the present action that's being taken in the Congress of the United States. They don't seem to get anything done, but immigration is a form of human population control. Also, if you move those words around, at the same time you're doing human population control, you're also controlling the human population of a particular country or region of the world. And the different methods are used in the controlling area of the human population, and we're talking here the human population control. Now we have immigration, and that's where we have people coming in to a particular country from other country or other areas. They come into the United States, across the borders, from all around the world. We do not have any secure borders. That we've had problems in the past, in the entire history of our country. And that's why it's in the Constitution of the United States. It's a responsibility of Congress of the United States, and that right alongside of national security and secure borders. It all goes together. Then we also have sterilization, and that's used in a lot of places in the world, over in Africa. And they use that as a form of slavery and things of that sort. Then they have euthanasia. Euthanasia has been added Uh, and what was taken out was genocide, which is interesting. They brought in euthanasia. Euthanasia, maybe some of you remember Dr. Death, Dr. Kevorkian over in Michigan. Now, euthanasia is what's known as mercy killing, is a common term that's used for that. There's also assisted suicide. Dr. Kevorkian went to jail he was a doctor, for assisting people who wanted to end their life. And it was called assisted suicide. That's euthanasia. But now they use the big word euthanasia. Now, with Obamacare, if you have death penalties and you have some elderly people and we withdraw medical services to them because they're too old, too fragile, or maybe cost too much money and it would add to the national debt or it cost of medical care, and if the government's running it, well, we just let them die. That's euthanasia. Now, as I say, I've been keeping an eye on this Wikipedia because I know things change on Wikipedia. Anybody can come in and change it. They don't have genocide. Now, you have abortion or medical abortion, and if it's one woman making a choice, that's abortion. She's aborting that child. And my argument would be if you have a systematic, like we have in the United States and most of the Western countries, Western culture, they have this abortion. It's systematic. That 55 million since 1973, since the case of Roe vs. Wade, we've had that. That's genocide. That isn't one woman deciding to abort, or several women individually deciding to abort. No, that's an entire system. And the impact on that is overwhelming. The negative results of that are overwhelming. And I may do a podcast just on that. Uh, the How many of those people would be in the workforce, working, paying into Social Security, paying taxes? They're gone. They're gone forever. And they were gone before they were legally born, but after they were conceived. The religious connotations there. But I consider that genocide. That is population control. And it also is controlling the population too. It's the other side of the coin. We were just talking about human population control. And I have found and heard of in the last couple of months something very, very troubling within our country. Something that opens the door to a great deal of potential pain for every citizen in this country. Some whistleblower, and I have no idea who it is or where it is, this has turned up on the internet. And so the FBI is listening and what have you, and they want to talk to me about it. I have no idea who put it on the internet, and you know probably more than I do. So I'm just making that disclaimer. But in here, I'm glad that whoever did it, I'm very happy that they did it. It's a wonderful dissident who did this to make the American citizens aware of what is going on, the potential uh, human rights violations um, by our military and by our representatives. We have, and this was released a few months ago. It is FM3-39.40. You can go on the internet and get this. It's 326 pages, and the title is Internment and Resettlement Operations, Headquarters, Department of the Army. It was updated on February 2010. My understanding from some people that I know, former military, now retired officers, they had this type of operation manual back in as early in the 80s, and they've been updated. This one has been updated in 2008, about a week after the election in 2008, and it was published internally in the Department of the Army in February 2010. Uh, and we're going to go, and I'm going to go to the introduction page because that's quite interesting. When we go to the introduction page of this manual, uh, we find out that it's talking about uh, operations to facilitate the ability to conduct rapid and decisive combat operations, deter, mitigate, and defeat threats to population that may result in conflict, blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, and your first thought is, well, it's the United States Army, and they're talking about internment and resettlement camps. And what it used to be was very clear cut. They were talking about stuff overseas. And they may even be talking about Guantanamo Bay, Guantanamo detention facility down there with terrorists. And you may think, well, that's what they're talking about. But here they go to somewhere where it's very, very interesting. About the third paragraph down on this page, typically overpopulated third world societies from lack of legitimate and effective enforcement mechanisms, which are generally accepted as one of the cornerstones of a stable society. Stability within a population may eliminate the need for direct military intervention. The goal of military police conducting detainee operations is to provide stability within the population, its institutions, and its infrastructure. In this rapidly changing and dynamic strategic environment, U.S. forces will compete with local populations for same space, routes, and resources. The modular force ability to positively influence and shape the opinions, attitudes, and behaviors of select populations is critical in tactical, operational, and strategic success. Okay, we're talking about population control, or control of the population, however you want to put it, move the words around. Now, if you're just talking about overseas in the combat zone, I understand that. What I find alarming, and other people have also, there's been other YouTube um, uh, videos about this particular document. I see some different things in here, and I find them very alarming. And to me, they could be incorporated with one executive order. Now, the next paragraph says an adaptive enemy will manipulate populations that are hostile to U.S. intent by instigating mass civil disobedience, directing criminal activity, making their operations in urban and other complex terrain, maintaining an indistinguishable presence through cultural and anonymity, and actively seeking the traditional sanctuary of protected areas as defined by the rules of land warfare. And this is where we get into some question. An adaptive enemy will manipulate populations that are hostile to U.S. intent. What U.S. intent? The intent of the military? Following orders, let's say, from civilian leadership? Is it the intent of the leadership? Is that the U.S. intent? Or is it the intent of the true government of the United States, the people? Is it their intent, their consent for this type of operation? And is it really just for overseas? Or is it we talking about some population control here? As we go down in near the bottom, and you have a couple of the bullet points, um, they're operations which overreaching counterinsurgency or irregular warfare efforts of current operations. The development of terms of reference for detainee typology and standardization of procedures for detainee assessment. This word typology, I should say, is somewhat questioned. There's several meanings on them. Some are religious. We see some problems, some discrimination against evangelical Christians in the military presently. Outright persecution, Christian persecution presently. And if you look later on, I'm going to probably be going through this manual and talk about it. There's some of the troubling aspects. If it's one thing to be talking about foreign, but they're talking about civilian detainees and things of that sort. Then you get down to this note, which is really troubling. Note, recent discussions by the executive branch have adjusted the typology in JP 363. What is JP 363? JP 3-63 is Joint Publication 363, Detainee Operations. This is from the military. This is from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as high as you get in the military. And that's what's troubling about this. This is military operations. And if it's strictly overseas, it may be, in foreign, it may be one area. If we're dealing with terrorists and national security, that may be another area. But what if we're talking about civilian detainees? And they talk about civilian detainees in here. Also, this publication, by the way, it's directly from the Department of Defense, DOD. So anyone can go in here, and it's no whistleblower here. It's an official publication. 81 pages. I've been reading some of it. And I got to the part where civilian detainees. And then you got parts about psych ops. Psych ops and civilian detainees? I hope they're not talking about within the United States. You hear these things with the U.S. Cyber Command. That's a military command. With NSA. Now we're talking about here with detainees. Are we all talking about the United States and internally and domestic? That would make the Joint Chiefs of Staff domestic enemies of the Constitution, wouldn't it? Because they'd be violating their oath.